This is James Beattie from Save Jersey. We're here at 1 Bergen Plaza in Hackensack. We're sitting here with Freeholder Rob Hermansen of R-Mahwah, who stands for re-election this November. And he sits as chairman of the Law and Public Safety Committee. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things going on with that committee that's made it to the whole board and some of his re-election. Rob, good to see you once again.
How you doing, James?
Always a pleasure. Now, Rob, some of the things that's going on most of this year. Last year was pay to play, and that was all a thing, and we're very proud to have that go through. And before we talk about that, how do you think pay to play is working in the first year?
I think it's worked exactly the way it's supposed to. Bergen County was for sale before. For the prior, last number of decades, it felt like it was for sale. This year, it hasn't been. I think that you're seeing that things are, the money has been stopped being wheeled in. You're seeing much more the issues being talked about as concerning with the issues and what people want to hear about as opposed to money. And I think that's where it should be. It should be about ideas, what we're going to do for the future, what we've done in the past, and those are what we should be talking about as opposed to to the actual how we're for sale and how the basically the professionals here in Bergen County of how they're helping to fund campaigns.
Yeah, and we've seen Bob Engel write in such books like Soprano State. It's basically sanctioned bribery. But even so, we've seen people in your own party, our own party, say, well, this is an infringement upon our own liberty, our own ability to put our own money where our own mouth is. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think you got to look at it from two different ways on this. One is this is not about infringing on anybody in the on the aspect of where they're looking at it. You can still give money. It just means that if you want to do business here at the county, and you want to have a bidded contract, we're not a non-bidded contract as opposed to bidded. If the contract is bid, pay-to-play regulations doesn't warrant anything. If this is a non-bid, professional work is the only thing that curtails, where this is curtailed on through the pay-to-play legislation. So when you're looking at it, if you want to do work here, just follow the guidelines. And I think everybody understands that it's very simple. It's just, to me, it makes sense. You don't want the person who's going to be working for you right now, who's the one who's giving you the contribution, because when I look at it from the professional side, I'm a taxpayer. Also, when I live here, I live in Bergen County, not just freeholder, but I'm a taxpayer. Who is making up the campaign contribution that's being made from the professional to the political organization? I can guarantee you they're not doing it out of the bottom of their heart. It's being passed on to someone, and the person who they're passing it on to is the Bergen County taxpayer in the form of the next contract.
Right.
So, second thing is, I think when everyone talks about infringement, I don't believe that this is an infringement. I think that this is, it used to be what people used to say, the price of doing business. Well, I think the price of doing business, is too expensive in Bergen County and the state of New Jersey. Governor Christie believed the same thing. It's why he backed pay to play, and I would say that he's probably the largest, participant and supporter also where he went through and pushed pay to play and discussed pay to play, and saying what it led to corruption here in this state. And when you look at it from the aspect of this is our leader in the Republican Party here in the state of New Jersey. And I have the leader of the Republican Party telling me that pay to play was bad when he ran 3 years ago, and I said the same thing when I ran 3 years ago. He won, and I won. What does that tell you? All right, I don't believe that if people thought it was an infringement and really believed that, I think that you would see a lot more, and it's in a lot different things that were done and how the issue was.
Do you see it as an infringement? Do you see a further challenge upon this ordinance going forward, or do you think it's here to stay?
Well, I have to tell you that since I read the paper today, I did have to chuckle that I was told that the reason why they were changing it now was because they were concerned about David Gans and the Democrats have been concerned about having it challenged in court. Well, I don't know. Have you seen a lawsuit on it? I haven't seen anyone sue anything on this. I haven't even heard anything on this. Look, the bottom line is that no one is going to sue on this because everyone understands that this is the right thing to do. It is the right thing. So no one's going to discuss this. No one's going to go there. This is the bottom, that's the excuse to be used in order to try to, do something right now, to try to change something that they're not happy with how it's working because it's working too well to them.
Now, this year, we have an issue with police merger between Bergen County Police and Bergen County Sheriff's Officer. There's 21 counties in all of New Jersey. Bergen and Union are the only ones that have a separate police department from their sheriff's office. And there's been a lot of talk that the sheriff's office and the police department should be merged. You said at some point, you supported an ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
You said you voted against the ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
You said the process was mangled.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a very good process. What happened with the process? And for people who are not exactly from Bergen County, tell them what happened with this process.
Well, I wish there was a process. That's the problem. All right,
Mm-hmm.
There was no process. The process that went on is, look, you're going to build a home, you get plans. All right, you just don't go out and go down to the to the store, buy lumber and and wire and start building a house and wire it up and think that this is the way it's going to go. You have to go through the process of putting plans in place of what we're going to do and how we're going to do things and how things are going to work. We have two unions merging, if that was potential, what could happen. You have two different unions. You have two different pay scales. You have people who are, who've been working under the one banner for 95 years. And you have no idea of how or what you're going to do in order to make things work. You have no idea of the policy of what we're going to do to protect the county parks. We have no idea what's going to happen with Bomb Squad, what's going to happen with the SWAT team, what happens if we dissolve, because the two words in here one was consolidate, one was dissolve. We had a referendum that said consolidate, we have an ordinance that says dissolve. Well, which one is it? Do they mean the same thing? Because if they mean the same thing, then they should be the same words instead of having two different words. But to me, there was nothing done. It was not the process. Instead of it going through and working its way of coming up with a plan by the freeholders. The freeholders, the judge stated, was that the freeholders and the county executive were supposed to work together. So I want you to think about this for a second, and I want the people to think about this for a second. The county executive has told everyone she's against this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to force the county executive to do something that she doesn't want to do because with the freeholders. That makes no sense. What it should be doing is we should be working together. We should figure out a way to save money and how we can save money, and whether it is through consolidation or whether it's through combining departments and finding some redundancies and things like that are in there that we could do. The guidepost study, along with the Kramer report, which both had people questioning and issues of where they were going to come from, not one of those reports had stated anything about a redundancy at all at the levels. In fact, they said there was no redundancies. So generally, when you're trying to go through and combine situations, the idea is to get rid of the redundancies that you have in order to save the money. I think that when you're looking at it from the perspective of the leadership and talking about that you could take the top, I wouldn't say take that top level off. There may be a savings there, but ultimately, is the savings warranted enough? Because if there's something that we're going to give up safety to the people here in Bergen County. Bottom line is that the people in Bergen County, their safety, that's what our job should be first, is to maintain their safety and take care of them and make sure that's happening. When we looked at the studies and we were going through things, the average household, it was said about the average household by the time you're done for the Bergen County Police is about $28 a person, $28 a household. Now, I'm not saying that $28 is not what we shouldn't try to save the $28. I think we should. In the last 2 years that we've been in the majority, and our party's been in the majority, we have gone in and successfully lowered the budget 2 years in a row. 2 years. First time in 22 years. So we understand that this is important to the taxpayer. We understand this. But we also understand that the concerns that people have with safety is also a very serious concern.